Hey everyone, KYT here. It's been a while since I've done a portfolio update. According to my records, the last time I've done one is in July, so it's about time. And the numbers are going to be great because my daughter decided to take a look at them. And with the channel gaining momentum and getting a lot of new viewers that have never checked out my channel before, I'm going to revisit the classic why I'm in XEQT question. As I'm getting questions such as this one: hey, been following you on Blossom for a while. Love that you take the time to answer as many questions as you can. Was wondering what made you invest so heavily in XEQT. And then a more recent one: are you still 100% XEQT even now? Now, long-time channel watchers know that I'm an XEQT for a long run and why, but I've mentioned the reasons in many videos in the past, and they're kind of scattered. So what I will try to do is what's like the one or two bullet point reasons why I'm an XEQT and try to make this as short as possible. And now for the portfolio update. Now I want to stress that I'm only doing this for you guys. Some of you just love to see these numbers or need to see them to be motivated to invest, but how XEQT does day to day, month to month, week to week doesn't really affect, well, it doesn't affect my strategy period because I plan to invest. I'm 38 to at least 65 will be involved with the stock market. And after that, I still have to know how I'm going to consume post-retirement. So if we scroll up, April, May, July, still around that 204,000, 208,000, and then a bit down from July here. And another thing I want to mention, I haven't been putting in money at all for possibly months because I'm putting that money in our vacation fund. We plan to hit up Thailand on our next vacation, so I gotta save that, and to go to Hong Kong so that my grandma can meet my wife that she's never seen before, and my daughter that, of course, she's also never met before. And I know some of you love to see the charts. So in the past year, I'm still up 11%, all-time 13% in my TFSA, and maybe give you some extra chart love here. 3 months down 2%, in last month down 5%, in the last week break even, and in the past day down 1%. Now onto the main topic of why 100% XEQT. I've done videos like the really old ones, some of my first videos 2 years ago, why invest 100% into the XEQT ETF right here, down here, and then why invest 100%, another one, almost the same, basically the same title actually. And so you can watch those, they're pretty short, they're 6 minutes or less, so you can check them out. There's also my investing for beginners cheat sheet that I put together not long ago to try to condense all this information. And again, some people might be intimidated, but you don't have to read this whole thing, right? It's rather short, and you can just read the questions that are relevant to you. But let's get to the point. How would I try to say it as quickly as possible why I invest in XEQT? I'll mix it up a little by first talking about asset allocation ETFs in general, beyond XEQT. So these are also called all-in-ones, and they are low-cost, globally diversified ETFs that are commonly recommended by many licensed professionals and definitely professionals that I respect. And one of them, Justin Bender, has broken down like which one you should pick based on your investment time horizon. So if you're investing between 0 to 5 years, you want to be somewhat safer, and you probably want your money in something like a high interest savings account or in a GIC because it's more guaranteed and far less risky than being in equities or in stocks. Here, Justin Bender has provided basically which ETF all-in-one you should go for depending on the number of years you plan to invest the money. So because I'm in it for the long run, like I mentioned, I'm 38, there's at least 27 years of investing that I'm going to do. I'm in VEQT, this section, or any of the other ones like XEQT, ZEQT, all of these are part of the same 100% equities here. But here, Justin Bender provided his recommendation based solely on the Vanguard selection of ETFs. And you can see here, this is what makes it really easy. If you need a rule of thumb to get started right away, just follow his guide and pick the one based on your investment time horizon. Now, talking about XEQT itself really quick, one has to be aware of what exactly is in it, because I find a lot of questions on Blossom by beginners. They just want to add different stocks or different ETFs that are already part of XEQT, so they clearly don't understand what's in XEQT itself. It's important to take your time. Take your time before asking or deviating or trying to spice things up. Just have a full understanding that XEQT includes a lot of things. So it includes ITOT, which covers the total US stock market. It covers emerging market, international stocks, and XIC, which covers the Canadian market. So definitely make sure you understand the components of XEQT or any of the other all-in-ones. And you can click on the websites. It will show you all the holdings and aggregate underlying holdings, the exact company that it holds. So you have Apple, Microsoft, Royal Bank. So when you see people have XEQT and then they feel like they need to add ZEB, like a equal weight banks ETF, it's like, why are you constantly adding different ETFs when you're just starting out and you don't really understand what you're doing? So slow down. You can just get it all in one and then realize if you need other things. In my opinion, you don't, but if you want, go right ahead and look that up some more. Which brings us to the question of, so why should I care about being globally diversified? I understand that XEQT is globally diversified, but why should I care? I think question 4 does a good job of answering that. It references a paper by Best Binder, Chen, Choi, and Wei, and I'm going to go through it with you quickly, just a key line. I'm going to move the window here. It says, second, we show that stock market wealth creation is highly concentrated. Just 5 firms, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Tencent, account for 10.3% of the US 75.66 trillion in global public stock market net wealth creation in our sample. The best performing 0.25% of firms accounted for half of global net wealth creation, and the best performing 2.39% of firms accounted for all net global wealth creation. So the idea is that the global market has a ton of different stocks, thousands and thousands of stocks. And for you to do fairly well, if you want to have a diversified portfolio, or even if you're just stock picking, is that you have exposure to some of these companies that did extremely well. So in the next 10, 20, 30 years, there's going to be the next Microsoft, the next Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, and Tencent. And if you have exposure to the next big ones, you're going to do very well. But if you miss out on any of them in your stock picking, it's more than likely, not impossible that you will outperform the market, but it's very likely that you will underperform because of how the stock market, how it looks like. Because it really looks like there's a bunch of small number of stocks that do really well and a lot that will underperform the market. And if you're a beginner and you're just picking, there's just so many thousands of stocks to pick from. There's so many combinations. You're more likely to pick a combination that does not include the next top performers. So in order to have a consistent and more reliable growth of your portfolio, own the market, have exposure to the next big guns, the future company, the big companies that will outperform in the next 10, 20, 30 years, and you will be good. You will likely be happy with the result. I was pleasantly surprised to find video footage of Warren Buffett agreeing with this strategy to be as diverse as possible. Now, some of you may have heard a lot of different Warren Buffett quotes and Charlie Munger about how they hate diversification, but they were speaking to the professional investor and not retail investors like myself and probably you watching this video. So let me roll this clip really quick.
The question is about diversification, and I've got a dual answer to that. If you are not a professional investor, if your goal is not to manage money in such a way as to get a significantly better return than the world, then I believe in extreme diversification. I mean, so I believe 98 or 99%, maybe more than 99% of people who invest should extensively diversify and not trade. So that leads them to an index fund type of decision with very low costs.
So there you have it from the man himself, to be extremely diversified unless you're a professional investor. Now, people I've talked to think just picking an asset allocation ETF is too simple. They feel it's too easy. They want that complexity. They feel like they should be doing something more when they really don't have to. And on a recent episode of Rational Reminder, Rob Carrick shared those sentiments as well.
It's very rare that I have an opportunity to tell people, just do this. Just do it. Just buy an
Yeah.
asset allocation. Pick balanced, pick conservative, pick aggressive, pick all equity. I don't care which one you pick. Just do that. And I'm very confident you will have a good investing outcome if you can keep your hands off it for 10 years plus. And people are slowly picking up on this.
That's such a good point on simplicity, sometimes making it harder for people to actually stick with that investment. They want to add whatever. Should I add a tech index? Should I add a bank index?
Exactly. You know what? They're not happy unless they're complexifying the simple investment. But really, I mean, if you dig down into a lot of these products, they have everything you need. They have emerging markets. They got exposure to the S&P 500, which means you've got your tech. It's really everything is in there. You don't need to get too cute and building.
And one final clip I do want to share once again from my favorite finance podcast, Rational Reminder, is them talking about the fact that these fancy ETFs, these trendy ETFs, tend to have higher costs than something that's more diversified, that's more broad. One example that's used is ZEB, the BMO Equal Weights Banks Index ETF. It's got an MER of 0.28%. That's higher than XEQT, and it only holds 6 bank stocks. Another common example that I've talked about on this channel before is good old VDY versus VCN. VDY being the more trendy high dividend yield index that people, hardcore dividend investors are interested in, has an MER of 0.22% despite holding 53 funds, I believe. Going to make this a bit bigger. 53 funds, and something that is 0.05%, more than 4 times less in terms of less expensive. It holds 178 stocks. So something that's like 4 times less expensive is 4 times more diversified. So you can see, I mean, they're gonna talk about it. You can check that clip right now.
We had a professor on a few episodes ago, and he talked about how issuers can compete on cost for the total market ETFs, and we've kind of seen that go maybe to a floor or close to it. And then the other way that they can compete is by launching attention-inducing products or like interesting products, and that's the kind of flaky stuff that I think you're talking about.
Right, and it's interesting that that stuff often has much higher costs than the index tracker. So you can run an index fund with, even if you're using sampling, you probably got hundreds of stocks in there. And here you've got this specialized portfolio, let's say banks, for example. Look at the cost of the bank ETFs. They're way higher than the broader market ETFs. And you're talking 6 stocks.
Yeah, so crazy.
And that pretty much does it for this video. I did say I would answer some questions, so I got one I'd like to tackle at the end of this one from Danley 1282. It'd be cool to hear about how you're able to save a lot to invest. I'm sure lots of people know to invest in XQT, but just don't have the funds. It's really hard. I think that my wife is the secret sauce. She doesn't use her credit card unless she can pay it off immediately. It's really rare, extremely rare, maybe 1% of the time where she has a balance, an outstanding balance. So she's basically the rock of this whole saving foundation, or whatever you want to call it. So thanks to her, I'm able to save a lot more we're able to save a lot more as a family, and that type of spending attitude is key. Whereas I'm less diligent about that stuff. So making more money has had to been my method of being able to invest a lot. Now, with that all said, I hope that answers people's question about why XEQT is the best for my situation, and why I think it's probably the best for a lot of you that are just starting out and are young in your investing journey. And just keep it simple. All you need is an all-in-one. You can add some spice, but you really don't have to. And if you do, you have to have a good reason beyond hearing your friends or people that you know are hyping up a particular stock. It has to be an actual reason if you expect to perform better than just holding on to an all-in-one. So good luck, and see you in the next one.